is the Trinity test site. Here, a new and terrifying age is about to dawn. 5:29 a.m. The world's first atomic bomb detonates with the force of 20,000 tons of high explosive. 10 miles away, observers feel the explosion's heat on their skin. The flash is brighter than 20 suns. It's the biggest man-made explosion to date. The world will never be the same again. But the biggest bang is produced by a chain reaction of tiny particles. And none of it would happen without conventional high explosives. John Rhodes is the director of the Bradbury Science Museum at Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Today we think of our contemporary nuclear weapons as the absolute zenith of destructive power, but they can trace their roots back to low-energy gunpowder, which then, over time, became high-energy, high explosives.
The long line of explosives, from gunpowder to TNT, leads to this, Little Boy. 28 inches in diameter, 10 feet long, Little Boy is a small package designed to deliver an explosive force equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. Inside are two masses of a heavy metal called uranium, a target and a bullet. Kept separate, there's not enough uranium in one place to sustain a chain reaction. The bomb is said to be subcritical. Conventional high explosive fires the bullet at the target, bringing the two uranium masses together. The bomb becomes critical. Now, there are enough neutrons bombarding the unstable uranium atoms to initiate a devastating release of energy. This is the principle of a fission bomb. The uranium nucleus accepts a neutron. It splits into smaller atoms and more neutrons. These neutrons proceed to split other uranium atoms. It's a chain reaction. Each reaction releases a vast amount of energy in a very short time. The gathering energy blows the bomb apart with a massive blast. It all happens in a split second at 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, 1,900 feet above the Japanese city of Hiroshima.
This is the uranium weapon that was used on Hiroshima. It starts with the detonation of conventional high explosive to fire the shell against a uranium target. Subcritical, critical, boom.
In that moment, the bomb kills 70,000 people and injures as many again. Many more die as a result of radiation sickness. And Little Boy has a big brother. Los Alamos scientists have developed another bomb.
And they wanted to bring into its use plutonium, which had just recently been discovered, which was more energetic, basically more bang.
This is Fat Man. Unlike the gun-type device of Little Boy, Fat Man uses implosion to compress the subcritical assembly of another unstable metal, plutonium.
The idea is you take a core of plutonium, you surround it with a jacket of high explosives, and you detonate it.
3 days after Little Boy delivered its deadly cargo, Fat Man explodes with the equivalent of 21,000 tons of TNT above the city of Nagasaki. But whatever the method of detonation, the terrifying effects of an atomic bomb remain the same. An instant after detonation, a fireball, a luminous mass of air, starts to expand. Even from 50 miles away, a nuclear blast is many times brighter than the midday sun. Looking directly at the blast could destroy your light receptor cells, permanently burning a large spot into your retinas. A massive blast wave surges outward, destroying everything in its path for mile upon mile. Approximately half of the energy goes in blast, about a third in heat, and the rest in radiation.
The first and most obvious is blast. There's a tremendous shock wave that's propagated outwards from ground zero where that weapon is detonated. A shock wave that can take down buildings, can move vehicles, can twist railroad tracks. You not only have blast, but you've got heat approximating near the temperature of the sun, so that anything around is immediately vaporized, immediately incinerated.
The fireball increases in size and cools. The vapors condense to form a cloud containing solid particles of the weapon debris and small drops of water sucked into the fireball from the air. Nitrous acid and oxides of nitrogen make the cloud appear red or brown. As it cools, the water droplets condense, changing it to white, just like an ordinary cloud. But the contents are far from ordinary. The cloud is full of deadly radioactive particles. As they blow downwind, they fall to the ground and contaminate thousands of square miles. Find yourself in the contaminated zone, and you could be exposed to a lethal dose of radiation. A low dose will damage your cells, but your body should repair itself. A higher dose may overwhelm your body.
The effect of radiation on the human body in these extraordinary doses is really only known from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It has the ability both to penetrate and to do extraordinary cellular damage, as well as serious burning to any exposed part and internally.
But despite its countless horrors, the nuclear genie is out of the bottle. Now the Cold War superpowers race to stockpile ever more powerful nuclear weapons. November 1st, 1952. U.S. government scientists in the Marshall Islands press the button that ushers in a new era of explosive power. The age of the H-bomb. This bomb is 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic fission bombs that fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Unlike those bombs, which created energy by splitting nuclei in a process called fission, this new weapon forces the nuclei of hydrogen atoms together. This is nuclear fusion. High explosive first initiates a fission reaction. This creates super high temperatures. In the intense heat, the hydrogen nuclei fuse to form helium. This releases a huge amount of energy and creates a massive explosion.
When you get to fusion, all bets are off. And really, there is almost no upper limit.
Thanks to the H-bomb, the U.S. leads the arms race, but not for long. October 30th, 1961, a Soviet bomber flies toward a remote island in the Arctic Circle. On board, a special cargo, a 27-ton hydrogen bomb. This is the king of bombs, the Tsar bomb. At 8:33 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, the Soviet Union sets a new and terrifying record. The Tsar bomb explodes with 3,800 times more power than the Hiroshima bomb. The fireball is seen over 600 miles away. Shock waves circle the Earth 3 times. This is the greatest man-made explosion in human history. It heralds an age of mutually assured destruction, in which there are enough nuclear bombs to destroy humanity many times over. It's a threat which, despite countless treaties and agreements, continues to this day. This is the ultimate bang. In the space of 1,000 years, explosive power increases hundreds of millions of times. But nuclear bombs are dirty and indiscriminate. They render the land on which they fall useless, and their deadly legacy can last for thousands of years. So the quest for a bigger, better bang continues. And in the fallout from the atomic age, scientists think they may have found the key to the ultimate bang, to an explosion of immense power and precision. We're seeing the awesome power of explosives, from the crude force of gunpowder to the biggest ever bang. Now it's possible conventional explosions such as these could become a thing of the past. The future promises explosive devices of unprecedented power. In their search for the biggest bang of all, scientists are now experimenting with the most powerful energy source known: antimatter. It sounds more like science fiction than fact, but antimatter is real. Physicists have known about it since the 1930s. In theory, 1 ounce of antimatter could replicate the power of 75 Hiroshima bombs. Antimatter forms naturally in rare, ultra-high-speed collisions, such as those that happen inside solar flares. But now, scientists can produce antimatter on Earth. A particle accelerator sends atoms smashing into each other at near the speed of light. The collision produces antimatter, the opposite of matter. And when antimatter and matter collide, they annihilate each other. Energy locked within the particles is released in a billionth of a second. The reaction produces nothing but pure energy. It's nearly 1,000 times more efficient than a hydrogen bomb, 40 billion times more efficient than TNT. Imagine the power of a weapon which weighs as much as a paperclip and could destroy a city the size of New York. It's a nightmarish vision straight out of a science fiction movie, which is where physicist Professor Richard Thompson thinks it will stay.
Realistically, the amounts of antimatter that have ever been made or could be made realistically in the future is very, very small. And the process by which you generate it is extremely inefficient. It takes enormous amounts of energy and enormous amounts of time to generate any significant amount of antimatter. And to accumulate any significant amount of material that you could weigh would take billions of years.
And keeping hold of it is even harder. The usual way to contain antimatter is in an airtight metal tube called a penning trap. Antimatter particles aren't visible to the naked eye. This trap demonstrates the principle on an enlarged scale. Inside, powerful electromagnetic fields would constrain the antimatter. A similar magnetic force inside this desktop toy keeps the globe suspended.
So the globe is now suspended by those forces, and because of that, it doesn't fall, it doesn't touch the base, it doesn't touch the sides, and that means that if it was an antiparticle, then it wouldn't be touching the apparatus at all.
But if the antiparticle did touch the matter in the walls of the trap, it would annihilate on contact.
The amount of matter that you can put into one of these traps is very limited. The reason for that is that because these are charged particles, they all push away from each other, and that means that the density that you can get within the trap is very limited. The explosive power of that, if you were to convert it entirely into energy, would be just a tiny fraction of the energy that's contained in a match head.
it seems that antimatter, the ultimate destructive material,